Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Forman, and today we are going to take a look at the new Maurice Cole Reverse Vee Twin Pin. Obviously, it's got a pintail, it's got two fins, and the shortest way we can review this board, if we only had about, let's say, 10 seconds left, is less fins, more barrels. Any questions? Done. That would be the end of the review, but we're gonna go a little bit longer than that. We're gonna go a little bit more in depth. So this is the fourth board in the new Reverse Vee lineup. We got the Reverse Vee Shorty, the Reverse Vee Step Up, the Reverse Vee Hybrid, and then now this board, the Reverse Vee Twin Pin. And this is a similar board to those boards with regards to the bottom shape. It has that Reverse Vee bottom shape with some V forward, going to flat, to some slight concaves. On this board, obviously it's got a channel going out the back, 4 channels going out the back of the board, and then a twin fin setup. Looking at the deck of the board, you can tell rocker through the midsection is pretty flat. It's got a nice beak on the nose. And then if you're looking at like some of the boards that are laid down on the ground, there's a decent amount of tail rocker coming out of the back. Not so much it's gonna slow it down in small waves, but enough to help out with the turns. Looking again at the shape of the board, like kind of the foam flow of the board, if you look at it this way, you can see that there's like a really defined deck line tracing along my finger right here, where the thickness really pulls down. So the rails on these boards, you know, it carries a lot of foam to the edge, but then the rail really pulls down. And then it has Maurice Cole's hard edge, not the entire length of the board, but right up to about here, like right up to about that little Teddy logo. It's got that hard edge on the board, which gives it quite a bit of speed. Looking at the dimensions, this was the twin pin that I was riding, 7.1 by 21, 2 and 13/16, and 46 liters right on the nose. I really like this size. This ended up being a really good all-around size for me. Like, for maximum wave range, like I could ride it in small surf, I could ride it in big surf, I could ride it in like good, powerful, like tubing surf. I definitely think I could have went one size smaller to gain some maneuverability, but then I would start losing on the small wave and the bigger wave side. So I think I could have surfed a 6.11 like in perfect conditions, but the 7.1 for me was really good and just gave a lot of range. Now, talking about the dimensions, you know, a lot of times if you're looking at like a 7.1, let's say like the Red Dingo, you know, comparing this to the Maurice Cole Red Dingo, 7.0, 7.1, 7.2 is gonna be like 22 plus wide. So this is an inch narrower than that board. So this helps it get up on rail quicker. And then also with that thin edge, thin rail on the board, that also helps it get up on rail quicker. You know, what I found, you know, 46 liters, a lot of people will think, man, that must be really hard to duck dive. Like, we get a lot of people like hyper focusing on the liters to the duck dive ability, or literage to the duck dive ability. This board is actually really easy to duck dive because you can get up a lot of paddle speed with the length of the board, and then with it being narrower and thinner per the volume, it's actually easier to get down underneath the water. So you get that forward speed with the narrower board and thinner throughout, like not super thick, it's easier to get down underneath the water. So even at 46 liters, it was still pretty easy to duck dive because we don't have any channels here in Cape Hatteras. It's all duck dive, duck dive, duck dive till you get out. So the next thing that I found out about this board is that most people look at a twin fin and they think loose, skatey, but gonna spin out, like in critical situations. Like, this board has yet to spin out. Like, so in situations like where I've had thrusters, I've had quads and late drops, like let's say you're going backside and you're free falling, grabbing the rail, and then landing going backside, like some boards will spin out, or actually all boards will spin out if you do it too late and you're grabbing too hard. This thing have yet to spin it out, and that's a combination of where the fins are in the board. Moving the fins further back in the board stabilizes it, and then also having the channels out the back stabilizes it as well. So, and I think also having that longer rail line is gonna help a bunch too. So the whole twin fin, like you're gonna spin out, myth on this board just really doesn't exist. You know, just like the rest of the Reverse Vee lineup, the board is really good at late drops, confused drops, bumpy drops, double up drops, any kind of thing where the wave is making it harder to stick the drop. by not having a concave bottom forward underneath your front foot, the board is a lot easier to get up on rail and then get going down the line. So if you think about it, a concave is actually fighting you to get that rail engaged in the wave, where the reverse V actually helps you. So just like we found out with that original reverse V shorty, this board is a lot easier to get up on rail and get going down the line. So let's get into how this board surfs, how the Reverse Vee Twin Pin surfs. You know, I found this board to be really good in fun waves and above. It works in the grovel waves, and actually, you know, and having that longer length and the ability to have it be really drivey off the tail helps in the smaller waves. But once you get into like fun waves, meaning like, I don't know, waist high and above, this is where this board really takes off. And then the bigger it gets, the better it gets. So, you know, chest high, shoulder high, head high, barrels. It's a super confident board in tricky conditions, and it's a really confident board in hollow conditions as well. So if you're out on those bigger days and you're getting like, you know, some softer shoulders, or let's say the tide fills in and it gets softer and it gets a lot smaller, or the swell's dropping out, it actually still works well in the small waves. The only thing you're going to give up compared to, like, say, like a reverse V shorty is the length of the board, right? You're going to have a longer board that's going to be a little bit harder to fit right in the pocket. But where this board excels, like in softer surf, is just having that longer rail line to drive off of and create speed, and then having less drag on the fin. So you can still go really fast and do some nice turns. It's going to be better in the smaller waves, you know, something open face and something like where you're not getting caught. And also, it's going to be more of a linear, like down the line, like going fast, rather than really like trying to stick a 7-foot board into a super tight space. But once you get this thing freed up and you've got the curve of the wave to fit it, it's just unreal, super fun, addictive feeling. Carlito, who's the general manager at Maurice Cole US, is, I mean, basically like this one board canceled his whole Quiver. He can't get off of it just because of how much fun it is. You know, the combination of that reverse V bottom shape to the fins and the channels not spinning out is a really confident feeling in tricky conditions. So it's definitely something I think a lot of people would get a benefit from, like by adding one of these to their quiver. So where does the twin pin fit in your quiver? If you're riding longboards, let's say like longboards or gliders or mid-lengths, and you want to have something that's a little bit more tuned in for barreling waves, this would be a really good board, like a really good barrel board to add to your quiver, because it's not so radically different as far as the length of the board or the volume of the board, but the design of the board is going to help it like grip those waves that would be more demanding, like on your bigger boards. And if you're coming from shorter boards, again, like this thing is just going to have so much more drive than your shorter boards, so there's a lot more down the line speed. You're able to make a lot more sections on this board that you couldn't make on a short board. You're able to chip in earlier, and then also because of the longer length, you're able to beat the current. So if you're in a place where, you know, like when you're getting those good swells, there's a lot of current like ripping through like the main takeoff spot, this board is going to be able to keep you on the peak a lot easier and for a lot longer of the session than a standard short board. It's the Maurice Cole Reverse Vee Twin Pin, and we've got them in stock 6'5" up to 7'11". If you got any questions about the Reverse Vee Twin Pin from Maurice Cole, you can give us a call at the shop, 252-987-6000, for putting in an order for a stock board or a custom order. Or you can look us up online, realwatersports.com/surfing. Thanks for tuning in.